Help support the show by going to the Amazon.com search bar on footballsamerica.com when doing your online shopping. There are no charges to you, just support, and it will take you right back to the Amazon website. This month, Footballs America podcast listeners will get free shipping on any order over $35 when they go to footballsamerica.com/Amazon. Again, that's footballsamerica.com/Amazon.
Hey everyone, this is Ron from Football is America, and we are inviting you to check out our website, footballisamerica.com. Catch up on all the shows and interviews right there.
We really would appreciate it if you check this out. We've had a lot of work put into it. We're very proud of our product. We really, really need you to get on there. Take a look at our links. Get on our GoFundMe if you got some spare cash you can throw at us. Check out our Amazon links. Check out our Audible links. We've got so many great things to give to you. Use that Amazon search bar when you're going to be buying on Amazon. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It'll take you right to the Amazon page as if you had searched through Amazon itself, because it is Amazon itself. It just helps us out when you come to make your purchase, and no extra effort is required on your part.
Yeah, a reminder that we do all of this for free, but it, unfortunately, is not free to do. So anything you can do to help us out would be great. Don't forget to also keep commenting, sending us those tweets, those emails, those Facebook comments, or berate us on Reddit. Without your interaction, we can't fix what you think is wrong or keep what is right. Let us know how we are doing, and you can always just get on there and tell Keil he is horrible hellspawn and needs to go back to his creator, Lucifer.
I prefer to think of Mondo Jesus as my creator, but to each his own. We won't know until you hit that comment button. Get on there, give us your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas. We really enjoy hearing them. I might berate you for it, but that doesn't mean we're not all having fun.
That's right. Hey, enjoy the show.
Yes. All right. Ron, Football is America.
That's correct.
That's correct. All right. Welcome to Football is America. Ron, Mike, and Keil. Stuff happens. Couldn't be here, so we're trying to find a replacement. We found this handsome young man named Jeremy Reisman. He just showed up on our front porch in a basket, and he knows a lot about the Detroit Lions. We're like, yeah, put him on the show. Ron, what can you tell us about this guy over here?
Well, Jeremy, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me and being Kyle's permanent replacement right now. Right?
Oh, that'll
Guys,
get a good.
That's not funny. I'm not gonna do Kyle impressions while he's not here. That's not nice.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Of course, Jeremy is joining us once again. He was our guest for the Pride of Detroit and Lions review show, and we really appreciated all he did there. And we loved him so much, we decided, you know what, we'll bring him back. That he was our first choice when Keil was gone, and it's gonna be a good fit. I think we're gonna have a good time.
Hey, I appreciate that. I mean, you guys must be desperate to have me back so soon, but I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, it's going to be good. Trust me. We'll have a good time. Not a whole lot to get to today, though, Mike. There's not a ton of news out there.
Yeah. What do you guys want to talk about? Like, I mean, we've got a lot of show to fill and not a lot of football. Yeah,
there's nothing, man.
Let's see. I've spent a lot of time fixing my car. I won my captain's parking space, by the way. So for the week, I get to do that, and so I drive a 1967 lowered Volkswagen Beetle. I can actually drive to work now because I'm not in the dirt lot. I have to repave that. Let's see. Is there anything going on with like the celebrity news? I don't know. Are we here to talk football?
Yes, I think that's what this point of this show is, Mike. That's why we're here.
All right. Well, let's do this then. All right. There's news here with the federal judge Anita Brody approved a settlement in the NFL concussion case. Seems to be the final step here. Is a possible $1 billion with a B billion-dollar settlement that'll pay out to players and their families for claims that the NFL has mishandled concussions.
It's going to cover Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, CTE, and pretty much any other kind of brain or concussion-related disease. It's going to be all-encompassing. it's going to pay out for 65 years, which is huge. That's a really long time. So basically,
hang on. I need to go get a concussion.
Dude, you have to be an NFL player first.
Who's the biggest, gnarliest player to get tackled by in the NFL?
Richie Incognito.
Yeah, I'll take, dude. He can give me the 5-star splash off the top rope for big payout.
Yeah, it's crazy. The whole concussion lawsuit thing has just gotten more and more and more and more nuts as it's went on. And I mean, now we have 200 players that families have said, we're going to opt out and we're going to pursue our own legal actions. I think the big one that comes to everybody's mind is, of course, the Junior Seau family. And from what I've read, it seems like the NFL kind of has egg on their face in this one. So they're trying to settle and get this done with and get it, out of their hair. But the Seau family and the families that are joining kind of them and taking their lead as well are trying to uncover the worst parts of this entire thing, which is, did the NFL know about this? Did the NFL cover this up when players were injured? What is the real story behind all this, rather than just being like, hush, hush, cover this all up? And I'm not saying that the NFL did anything wrong, but they did. And so I am saying that they did. So, Jeremy, what do you have on it?
My thoughts are basically that the NFL, with pretty much any of the controversies that have come out in the last 5 years or so, they're really good at trying to cover it up, but they're absolutely terrible at preventing them. So they let this concussion issue build and build and build until it became a huge national issue, and now they're good at covering their ass. Let's just say it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you look at like the Deflategate thing that still has not been resolved, which is
I was wondering when that was going to come up.
I went early on this show.
How long did we make it into the show, by the way, for Deflategate to come up? 4 minutes and 19 seconds it took.
Yep.
To come back. And I'm happy. That's good. I'm not.
I bring it up every show, and it's irritating, and I hate the fact that nothing has been resolved there, and they continue to try to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. And if you ask Mike, that's impossible to do to the FBIA podcast. And
that's right.
And so we continue to see all of the incredible controversies that happen that no one ever sees resolution to, because the NFL has gotten really good at waiting so long until everybody's forgotten, or to the point where nobody cares because the media saturation on it is so grand that's the point they'll resolve it, because by that point everybody's just like, oh, whatever, who cares, fine, all right.
That's whatever. I'm not gonna get into it, but that's like oh, let's keep them arguing over the dumb stuff like gay marriage and abortion, and so that we can screw them on the really big stuff like war and death and infinity. Like this is the Illuminati. It's nobody else. And I have to say it out loud because I know someone's going to listen and be like, he's stole that. I kind of took that line pretty much word for word from Patton Oswalt. So, okay, good. Got that out of the way. There's something to consider along all these lines. Like, do you guys think that this is enough?
I think money-wise, it's quite a bit. And the funny thing is that with all of this, the NFL has been fighting this for a long time. And every time it says, you know what, we're going to continue to fight this, it seems like the payout goes up, and the length of time they're going to have to pay goes up as well. So it doesn't really work out in their favor. So I think at this point, they're going to be like, all right, yeah, we're good, whatever. Just please don't make us pay more money. And
yeah, and I think they probably have enough money to eventually make everyone happy. In fact, I know they do. So $1 billion, probably just kind of a drop in the bucket, even though it's a billion with a B. But I mean, what is that to the NFL that's just continuing to grow and grow and grow and grow?
Right. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, how much money did they make last year off of everything? I mean, it was
4.5 ass loads.
Yes, it was a lot. It was a lot of money. I mean, it was definitely in the billions with a B and plural. So, I mean, it's not like this is going to be something that they really have to worry about. And it's $1 billion over 65 years. I didn't do the math, and I'm not going to try because I'm not going to pretend that I can do that math in my head. But that's not that much money every year when you think about it.
I'm thinking about what this could actually mean for the players and how it's going to affect them. And it's so, I know this is so juvenile and asinine of me, but a couple new guys to my my work center have really got me back into professional wrestling, right? And so I'm kind of like Monday night we get together and we do that, and I'm missing a pay-per-view, by the way, for this podcast. So I hope these listeners know that I love them. But my point is the what these guys do themselves is nuts, and I'm sitting here like, what is this? How's this going to affect the players? Like, hang on, there's guys that, being paid considerably less that love their, I don't want to use the word sport, but their performance as much as the NFL loves their performance, that are destroying themselves for like, there is no insurance. There's no concussion thing. It's just what happens. Like, you go out there, you get smacked around, you get a concussion. That's it. That's the job, But I feel like those same guys that are walking on the football field and those guys that are walking in that ring, they have the same thought in their mind of, I could probably get hurt. It's likely I'm going to get hurt, but I'm here doing this anyway.
Yeah,
I feel like, is the compensation going to like lean one way or the other? Like, who's that guy that just he quit real early in his career?
Chris Borland.
Yeah, okay, and he dipped out of fear for concussions. Do you think that this would have got him to stay?
This is going to give for NFL players some peace of mind. I mean, for the NFL, it all it means is that they're going to probably end up in the end coming up with some kind of plan that doesn't revolve around a lawsuit to deal with the concussions. I think that's probably the smartest way to go about it. If they really wanted to take the PR approach and really appease the masses, what they would do is say, all right, we're going to set up a fund. This is the separate insurance for concussions. What you'll do is you'll purchase this insurance as a player, and in the event that 30 years from now you wake up and all you smell is peanut butter, then we're going to make sure that you're taken care of. And that is a very realistic way of looking at it, because a lot of these guys have CTE and they have a lot of really terrible brain injuries. That's what they do. That they wake up every morning with headaches, and they wake up every morning and they can't recognize, what shoe is the left shoe. I mean, that is real life for these guys. And so for them to set up a fund or a insurance plan or whatever to take care of that, that's good stuff. And it means a lot to the players, because now the players know that they can go out there and they can sacrifice their bodies for all the glory that they can have now and be taken care of later on in life.
Basically, everything the NFL doing right now is to cover up what's already been done, to cover up the concussions that have already happened.
Right.
But it's not going to stop people from quitting the sport until they figure out a way to fix it before it happens. You can do all you want and throw a bunch of money at the problem and cover up the symptoms, but they're still going to be there. So I'm not talking about changing the sport completely, but this is always going to be a problem for the NFL, no matter how much money they throw at it.
Well, I think it's always going to be a problem for football in general, not necessarily just the NFL. I mean, when you talk NCAA, exactly, high school football, JV football, whatever. Yeah. I mean, this is a sport that is violent. It's a very violent sport, and you're never going to get to a point where this isn't going to happen, because this is always going to happen. Just like broken legs happen, just like torn ACLs happen. This is a fact of the game, and there's nothing you can ever do about it. The ways that you can make it so that people understand that you understand that is happening is you create like what they're trying to do, which is you create a way to ease the minds of the players to know that they're going to be taken care of later. And right. But I do think you're right, Jeremy. I think that up until this point, they have done everything in their power to cover this up, and now it is blown up in their face, and now it's all CYA until they are able to kind of, ease everybody's minds, like I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else we can say about it? Like, we stretched that out longer than we needed to. Are we sure we're done?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot more.
Concussions are bad.
Yeah.
CTE sucks. All right, well, I don't usually like laughing at people's misfortune, but this guy is having the worst week ever. Cowboys defensive end Greg Hardy. First, it's announced that he's going to be suspended for 10 games the 2015 season. Yeah, all right. Followed by the explanation the NFL calling him a liar and stating that his recollection of events were not credible. Okay. But then a couple days later, he gets in an argument with a teammate, and then that ends with him being called a woman beater, which who wants to walk around with that? And to top it all off, he had to abandon his $450,000 Bentley in a flood. That sucks. Listen, I drive a 1967 Beetle. All right? Now, I bought it for a couple grand, and I put maybe $1,000 into it. I'm not getting out of it in a flood, all right? Bury me in the Beetle. I don't care. All right? I carry water wings for just such an occasion. I don't care. I'm floating away. This guy's in a Bentley. Yeah. Forget that. That's the worst. I'd have put on the heat, put my feet up, took a nap. Who cares, man?
Yeah, this is...
Wait a minute. Wait, hang on. It's a $450,000 car, and it doesn't drive underwater.
That is correct. It is not a James Bond vehicle.
He got bent over, man. That's his fault.
Are you saying that he got bent over his Bentley?
Oh, bat it big. hey guys, hold on. I got to run out to my car and get the bell.
All right. He gets suspended for 10 games. It is not enough, in my opinion. I don't know what Jeremy's is. I'll ask him here in a second. But in my opinion, it's not enough. I think that in the end, his actions, not only leading up to the assault, but also his actions taking place after the assault, it is troubling for any team. I don't know why you would ever want to bring him into your team. I understand that he's a really good player, but this is amplifying the culture that is, if you're good, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll always play.
Yeah,
Right.
this is just a really tough issue. I mean, it's hard to put numbers on like domestic abuse cases, like is grabbing the next 5 games. Like you don't want to be asking these sort of questions, and that's because no one has any really real answers. The issue here is just, the NFL doesn't want this guy in the league. They don't, but they have to answer to the NFLPA, and 10 games is probably okay for them. I mean, who's going to argue against that sort of stuff except for Greg Hardy himself, who I'm sure is going to appeal.
Right.
But it's an issue that there's no clear answer to, but the NFL doesn't want to associate with Greg Hardy at all. And if they could banish him from the league, I'm sure Roger Goodell would in a second.
I mean, you look at this case, and a lot of people are like, well, Adrian Peterson gets to be back in the league. And Ray Rice, he was reinstated, but hasn't been signed by a team. And, we have all these different domestic violence cases going on. And obviously it really hit the fan last year with the Ray Rice thing. And, the domestic violence became a hot point for the entire NFL, and everything was kind of getting crazy, and that was bad. But I mean, when you look at the Greg Hardy case in general, he didn't apologize. He didn't come out and say, I didn't do this. He just came out and said, you know what? I'm just going to pay this woman to go away. And that's exactly what happened. He settled out of court. She didn't even file a civil suit. He just settled. So the wording is settled, but how do you settle anything without a suit? It doesn't make any sense to me. He settled, finger quotes. You can't see me, but I'm using finger quotes. And
That's called a bribe.
and she just disappeared. When the appeal happened, they asked where she was. She was nowhere to be found. She refused to testify. And you know what happens?
She was bribed to not testify.
Right. That's exactly right. She was bribed. It's a bribe, and he gets to basically be cleared of all charges because she was nowhere to be found. And when that's your whole case, the prosecution has nowhere to go with it. And now you get to walk free. And the NFL said, you know what? That's not good enough for us. We don't care. We know that he did something wrong. He's a freaking liar. So we're going to suspend him for 10 games. And that's all we can do up until this point. And I think that that's crap. If it was me and I was the commissioner of the National Football League, knowing that something had happened, I would have just thrown him out. And you know what I would have done? When the NFLPA came to my door with a lawsuit, I'd been like, all right, let's take it to court. And I would have stretched that thing out for years, to the point I would have stretched that thing out so long that by the time it's settled, Greg Hardy would have to be retired from the NFL. That's how long I would have done it.
I think that's called the filibuster.
But you do have to give the NFL some credit here, because their investigation was incredibly thorough. They interviewed a ton of people. They went through pages and pages and pages of reports from the courts, and they did due diligence. And even though there wasn't a conviction in the end, they really did the job that the courts weren't able to do.
I have to hand it to the NFL in terms of investigation. They have really grown in the last couple of years. And I mean, despite the fact that Deflategate still continues to rage on, they have grown in their investigation. And I'm really hoping that Roger Goodell has enough sense to say, all right, in some of these cases, I shouldn't be involved. I need to have a third party, an arbitrator, whatever he's going to bring in. And that's what I'm hoping ends up happening in a lot of these cases. I honestly think that the NFL could really benefit from having a council, a disciplinary council. And I know that the current CBA doesn't allow that, and that there's going to have to be constant changes to the CBA in order for that to happen. But I think in all honesty, it would work out better for the NFL, for the players, and everybody else if there was just a council that everything went through for disciplinary options, so that one person isn't the judge, jury, and executioner. And then if something comes from the council that Roger Goodell doesn't like, he can use his power then to change it. And then the appeals can come. Because if a council comes back and says, you know what, we're going to suspend him for 2 years at least, and he's like, guys, that's a little bit too much, we're going to suspend him for 10 games, and the council's like, no, we're going to suspend him for a year. And then they're like, all right, there's a year. And then Greg Hardy gets to appeal, and then he's like, all right, fine, we'll knock it down to 10 games. Then at that point, he gets his 10 games still, and everybody's happy. I mean, nobody's happy, which is the best kind of outcome you can have in this kind of deal. When nobody's happy, everybody's won. That's the end. So when it comes to his Bentley, that's called karma, and it's too bad that it wasn't swept away.
Fair enough. Hard to argue against that.
You guys want to move on to Greg Jennings?
Yeah, sure, why not? Because when I think of riveting news, I think Greg Jennings. Jeez.
Are you insulting me for trying to transition to the news product the news story that you put into our news document that for me to talk about, to bring up?
I'm not insulting you. I'm insulting Greg Jennings.
Oh, okay, good. Because I thought you were mad at me for that. Like, well, I don't want to talk about Greg Jennings. You put him in the document. I hate you. I wish I was never born.
Well, the thing is that what you don't know, Mike, is that both Jeremy and I know Greg Jennings very well from all of his years with the Packers, and then he decided to go to the Vikings, and we were just like, son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. I have written here that he signed with the Miami Dolphins.
That is correct. Yes, he did.
And that takes care of that.
No, okay, so
yeah, thank you. Do this part.
So he goes to the Miami Dolphins, and I think it's a 2-year deal is what he got, and they have a lot of turmoil there at the wide receiver position. They let go of Brandon Gibson, they let Brian Hartline roll, and Mike Wallace, because he hates everything there in Miami, and who wouldn't? It's Miami. I mean, they couldn't even hang on to LeBron James, so that is obviously the problem there. I mean, that's what happens when you have that's I mean, when LeBron James leaves, who wants to stay there anyway? I mean, it's Miami. It's hot, and they don't even have good Mai Tais.
Are you screwing with me?
Why?
LeBron James plays basketball, right?
Yes, that's correct.
What the hell does that have to do with the Dolphins?
I don't know. I just thought it really ripped at Miami. That was it.
I honestly thought you were trying to screw with me. Like you're showing off to Jeremy. Like, this guy doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Hey, I'll take any Dolphins bashing possible now that they've got Sue. So
yeah, and luckily we don't have to play them this year. Do you guys have to play them, Jeremy?
I don't think so. No, I definitely would have remembered if we were playing the Dolphins. I don't think we have to play them till 2007.
The Buccaneers.
There is nothing that would have pissed me off more as if we had gotten rid of Sue out of this damn division, and then we had to play the Dolphins, and I would have just been like, "You've got to be effing with me right now!" Like, like some baby Jesus out there really hates us. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, screw Miami. I think that. Good luck to Greg Jennings, but he's in for a personal hell this next 2 years.
Well, I mean, he's going to be their best receiver down there too. I mean,
probably true.
I mean, I don't remember the kid that was there that was running the football on returns and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember his name, but
LeBron James.
That's the guy.
Well, I mean, it's going to be like their only receiver there. I mean, they lost Charles Clay. I don't know how Miami's going to move the ball on offense. They don't have a running back. They don't have any wide receivers. They have an offensive line, so unless their offensive line is going to fumble Ruski all the time, I don't foresee them going very far offensively.
Yeah, they might grab someone in the draft, but I think at the moment the cupboard's pretty bare there at wide receiver. So this is a pretty solid move. Jennings is probably better as a number 2 receiver at this point in his career, but he's still producing some pretty solid numbers.
Right.
All right. Well, in equally riveting news, Hakeem Nicks signed a 1-year deal with the Titans.
And this one,
All right.
This one's it's a little bit better than the Greg Jennings signing, and
a little better.
News-wise, at least, but that's because Hakeem Nicks, for some reason, I think maybe I need to change my opinion of him. I don't know. I think that he's a lot better than most people give him credit for. I think he's not used properly on most of the teams that he's ever played for. I don't think he'll be used properly in Tennessee. And
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, how is Tennessee a better place for him than Indianapolis?
I mean, yeah, he just division team hopped. I mean, at this point, but I don't foresee him being used correctly there either. You want to know the kind of receiver that he is. He's a really good number 2 that can play the wing slot. I don't know if you guys understand, familiar with the term of wing slot, but that's the slot. That's like in a 4 receiver set or a receiver set that has 3 receivers and a tight end split out. That's the receiver that plays off of the left tackle and does normally like your fade routes or your flag routes, or does a drag over the middle, or does like your hook over the middle type routes. That's your wing slot receiver. That's where he's best at. One, because he doesn't have high top end speed. He's not big enough to be a down the field threat, but what he's really good at is space work. He is best in space. So whenever there's a linebacker over top of him and there's nobody underneath of him, he would be best suited to go out to that little space right there and be a check down guy and stuff like that. That's where he could make most of his damage, kind of a Wes Welker type role, where he's a little bit bigger than Wes Welker, but I just don't think the teams use him in the right way. And I think he could really be good in that sense. I mean, he was good with the Giants when he did that, and now he's not, because nobody uses him in the correct manner, and that's unfortunate. And I think he's going to be on a new team next year too, because I just don't think the Titans will want to keep him after they see that his production is low, because they don't know how to use a receiver correctly.
Yeah, and I just, like I was saying, if he can't work out with Indy and Andrew Luck, then, what's he going to do with the Titans and whoever their quarterback is going to be this year?
He might end up fading out, and that's unfortunate, because I think that he's a talent that nobody really understands.
It's just misunderstood.
Yeah, like, lots of really terrible artists. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to get to before we break out of here is a little bit of teams that got screwed with their schedule. And I'm sorry, Mike, that I took your intro away. I apologize. And
I actually didn't have an intro.
Okay, well, there we go. So a few of the teams that kind of got hosed in the whole new schedule thing. We did a schedule release special at the beginning of the week, and we didn't really get to this because we spent too much time talking about what the best games were and who had the strongest schedule. So what I wanted to kind of get to, since Jeremy's here, a little special feature is have him kind of tell us who he thinks got screwed the most on the schedules, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts, and then he can kind of tell me how much of a moron I am.
Well, I just want to start off with the entire NFC West, who have it hard enough as is playing each other twice a year. Their out-of-division games include the NFC North, which both you and I are quite a big fan of. So that means they're going to have to deal with the Lions, the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings. And then they'll also have to face the AFC North, which is the Steelers, the Bengals, the Browns, and the Ravens. So 5 of those teams made the playoffs last year. And if you include the 2 teams from the NFC West that made the playoffs last year, that means 2 teams in the NFC West are playing 9 games against teams that made the playoffs last year. That is brutal.
Jeez, man.
And I think the worst team, the team that got it the worst was definitely the 49ers. They have to open the schedule. I think it's Vikings, which is a team on the rise, on Monday Night Football. Then they got at the Steelers, at the Cardinals, and then against the Packers. Like, you could easily see 1-3, even 0-4 to start the season. And with a new coach they have to deal with, they are going to lose the fans very quickly over there in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, they also, a couple weeks after the Packers, they have to, host the Ravens, and then they host the Seahawks. And the Rams, for some reason, against their own division, are always a tough team. And
Absolutely.
Then, they close the Falcons out before they head into the bye, but they have a Week 10 bye, and they come out of the bye and immediately have to do the Seahawks and the Cardinals again, which is just brutal, man. Like, I mean, when you add in all the turmoil there of the Harbaugh, Tom Sula, the Trent Baalke, all that stuff going down out there, it's nuts. And my question is, how long until we start hearing this wouldn't have happened with Harbaugh? I mean, what week do we hear that happening?
It could honestly be as early as week 4, I think. It's obviously nonsense, but it's going to be a long year for Niners fans. I don't envy them, but I do point and laugh at them because I don't like them.
God, I'm so happy Jeremy's here. I'm listening to you guys like, I have no idea what's going on. Like Ron wanted me to do this by myself. It'd have been him saying stuff and me just poking him.
I think my number one team of teams that got screwed the most, and I'm gonna cop out here a little bit, Jeremy, and I'm gonna say that it's the Steelers, and that's only because, I mean, as most people know by now, the Steelers they have an opponent set for next year that has a 58% winning percentage, and that might not sound impressive to a lot of you because 58% doesn't seem like a lot, but that means that of all their opponents' records, it's over 500. And I don't remember how many of those teams were playoff caliber teams, but I mean, when you get to start the season against the Patriots, the 49ers, the Rams, the Ravens, and then you go Chargers, Cardinals, Chiefs on a 3-game stretch. You start, Bell's going to be out those first 3 games. You're going to be playing a tough defense in the 49ers. You're going to play a tough defense in the Rams. You're going to play a really powerful offense in the Patriots. That's going to be a tough 3 games without Bell there. So any schedule really that includes the NFC West and the AFC West and the other AFC North teams twice, the Pats and the Colts, is also brutal. They're not necessarily known for being the healthiest team either. So I give them 5 or 7 wins before the bye. It's just, they have just too much loss all over the team. The defense is in a huge transition. Dick LeBeau's gone. Nobody really knows what's going on. I think by this point, next year we're going to see Ben Roethlisberger having eaten himself into a cheeseburger stupor. I don't foresee them being very successful next year with just the schedule that they have.
Yeah, that division's always really tough, but for some reason the Steelers seem to always kind of dig their way through and somehow manage to make the playoffs at the end of it. So I'm not counting them out by any means at this point. That being said, that schedule is pretty nastily front-loaded, and that does not bode well for a team that, they're going to be without their starting running back to start the season.
So who else you got on your list there, Jeremy?
I feel bad for pretty much all the teams in the NFC North too, and part of it is because they have to deal with also the NFC West, but
and the AFC West, jeez,
and the AFC West. So again, that's 2 divisions that contributed quite a bit of playoff teams last year. You got the Bears, who, as I'm sure you know.
No, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting the season against the Packers, which I'm sure you're in love with.
Yeah, that's when I think of how would I like to start my season, I think, you know what we should do? We should host the Packers. That should be how we start the season. And then later on in the year, you know what we should do? We should go to Lambeau when they retire Brett Favre's jersey. That's what we should do. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, you know what? Why not just make that on Thanksgiving too? Make that a wonderful holiday.
Oh, is that where they're doing it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's actually how me and Ron met, was on Thanksgiving. I did a big thing at my house, and so I was inviting a bunch of people over, and then they had to come late, so I was already hammered, and I was wearing a suit, and I had my hair all pompadoured up, and I was just drunk playing my banjo, and Ron comes in like.
And I was late because we had to finish the Bears game that we played, the Thanksgiving last year. So we had that, and it's going to be a tough road for them as well. You have to play. You open the season with the Packers, then you go Cardinals, then you go Chiefs, and you still have a Seahawks game that you have to go to Seattle, and then the Lions on the road before the bye. I think there's a Raiders game in there somewhere.
Yeah,
week
4 it looks like.
Yeah, they still have to play the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Packers, and the Chargers and Packers are on the road, and they have the Lions to end the season. And as much as, I hate the Lions, sorry, Jeremy, it's that I mean, it's going to be a tough game to play. I can't look at this and say they're going to have anything more than 4 wins at best. I mean, the Redskins, Bucks, Raiders, and probably they'll split with the Vikings. Those are the wins that I see. I mean, that's it. They're just transitioning too much. They have a defense they're taking to a 3-4. They have Cutler who can't throw his way out of a cardboard box, and they have Matt Forte, who at this point is abstaining from camps, and Martellus Bennett, who's also absent from camps, and John Fox, who is just like, you know what? Well, you know what? This is all going to hell. Whatever. And it's going to be a tough season.
I'm glad this isn't a video podcast, because I would have to be hiding my grin from ear to ear. The moment you just said 4 wins, I couldn't control myself.
Well, if this was a video podcast, the listeners, well, I guess in that case the viewers would have a whole different idea of me. Like, does this guy just really sit here and just get hammered? Like, yeah, I'm a lush. That'd be actually fun to mark the liquor bottle before and after a podcast.
The other player or other teams of note that have some tough scheduling. Well, just one really is the Buffalo Bills, and the only reason I really want to bring them up is that they are going on their 6th year now without a primetime home game, and that's tough for a team. I know that, especially money wise.
Yeah, it can be really frustrating for fans. Obviously, being a Lions fan, I know quite a bit about not being in primetime. The Lions, I think, went a full decade without having a home Monday Night Football game. But it really just took one game, and I hate to bring this up, but it was 2011 against the Bears. It was the first one they had in a decade, and the crowd was just amazing that night, caused a whole bunch of false starts, and they won. And since then, I think the Lions have had a home Monday Night Football game every year since then, except ironically this year. But this year, the Lions have 6 nationally televised games. So if the Bills can be competitive in one of those primetime games on the road and put together a couple seasons where they're at least mediocre, it's going to be hard, obviously, with the Patriots in that division. But if they can put a couple good stretches in the next upcoming seasons, the NFL will notice. It just, like everything, it takes them a while to notice something before it's a problem.
Shocker. And here's a quick tip for you. The Bears were the reason that another team got more successful. I don't know if you know this, but sometimes that happens with the Bears. Like every single time. And for all you Bills fans, don't worry. Eventually Tom Brady will retire, and then you guys will be irrelevant again. It's going to happen. And, maybe. But don't worry, you guys also have Rex Ryan. You're going to be fine.
That was a sigh of relief you just heard.
All right. Well, hey, we're actually gonna have to wrap this up. I didn't want to push too long, and I know Mike had a topic here he wanted to get into, and I apologize, Mike, but we're gonna be pushing past the 40-minute mark, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and lead us out. So,
I had so many Adam Sandler jokes set up, man.
Well, go ahead and make your Adam Sandler joke. That's fine.
Oh, whatever. I guess someone for the Colts is he's going on this weird epic quest that sounds like a contrived Adam Sandler plot where he's like, here's what we're going to do. We got this rugby player from Kenya and a 450-pound shot putter from Syria. Neither of those are exaggerations. It just sounds like it's going to be really fun, like laugh out loud comedy, fun for the whole family, 2 thumbs up. Like, anyway, whatever. It was all stupid jokes. Like, you make me spit them out and anyway.
All right, well,
let's wrap this up.
Well, first of all, let's thank Jeremy for coming on. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And hanging
no
out.
problem. It was a blast again.
Well, we're gonna get you back on here. You're at least a good laugh in the background. That's for sure. It's great to have somebody it's somebody to have, laughing in the background rather than me, because, we get you back on when Keil is here, it's just going to be nonstop laughs. So what we'll also do is thank the listeners. You guys are great. Thank you for tuning in, or streaming in, as Mike would say, and being part of our listenership, downloading, subscribing, liking, commenting, all of those things. Facebook.com/FootballIsAmerica podcast, at FBIA podcast on Twitter. You can email us, Ron at footballisamerica.com, or Keil, Keil, at footballisamerica.com. Or if you want to send an email to Mike doesn't ever get emails. That's Mike at footballisamerica.com. Also, you know what you also should be doing?
Hang on. If someone sends me an email, I'm going to insist that I respond to it on the next podcast. Like, that's how sure I am that I'm not going to get an email. So any emails I get, I'm gonna hit the wickets on the next podcast. All right.
Also, if you are listening and you have not checked out Jeremy on Pride of Detroit, you are not living your life correctly. So
I'm reading his emails too. Fudge it.
So if you haven't gone on there, check it out. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. You can go on to prideofdetroit.com and you can look at what Jeremy's writing, and you can be fulfilled as a human. It can happen at this moment. We're here for you. We're helping you. We're going to get through this together. You're welcome. All right.
He is not overselling that one bit, by the way.
You can also get our show, of course, if you're listening now, you probably know, iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, all of the apps that you can pretty much find a podcast at. Go on there. You can check us out there, subscribe there. Immediately regret your decision. Write a scathing review. It's pretty normal. That's what we love. I mean, if you say nice things, we're just gonna be like, well, they said nice things, and we're gonna read the nice things you say, but it's gonna be tough for us to criticize you at that point. I mean, all we're gonna be is like, well, thanks. We love you too. But we appreciate all of you, and we also appreciate our military. Yeah. All of those guys serving all over the world. We appreciate everything you do. Come home safe. if you're subscribing and you're listening now while you're on watch, or you're listening right now while you're on fire guard or in tower duty, whatever you're doing right now, we appreciate that. We are huge supporters, and we hope that everything is going well for you, and we hope it's not too hot where you are right now.
Oh my God, I was in Bahrain this time last year. It's
Thank you to Nick Wright, our producer, sound-right.com. He's a great guy, knows what he's doing, great producer. We couldn't do this without him as well. And of course, our sponsors, Amazon.com, Audible.com, naturebox.com. Go to all those places, footballisamerica.com/naturebox, footballisamerica.com/Amazon, and audibletrial.com/footballisamerica. All those places you can go on there, get your audiobooks, get your snacks, do all that stuff. We appreciate it. And that is the admin notes. Thank you very much, Jeremy. And
no problem, guys.
Thanks,
Anytime.
Mike. And that's going to wrap us up. You guys all have a wonderful evening.
It's been wonderful so far. I'm going to miss you until next week.
All right, Jeremy. Take care.
You too.
Later, Jeremy.